Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there, Meteorologist Tuttle, back with you again. It is Monday night, May 23rd, about 9:45. It is time to talk about that rain. You know, there is a saying, it is too much of a good thing. And unfortunately, we have a little bit of too much of a good thing, all in just one day. I don't understand it, why Mother Nature can't just give it to us a little at a time over a broad period. Why does it always have to be all at once and then run off in the street and the gutters? I mean, come on. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Everybody's yard should be happy because we should get that Bermuda going, and that'll help quench the drought that's been going on for so long. So it is a lot of good news, just a little bit of the flash flooding. So again, thanks for joining me. You come to the right place, get updated on the weather. Meteorologist Tuttle here with you. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about the situation. Also tell them to download my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It is free. They can track these storms in real time right from the palm of their hand. Well, out there currently, if you hadn't noticed, still a little rainy. Here's the close-up view of the street light here near my house, and you can see temperature still holding at 56 degrees. And if you look really close there on the bottom right, you can see rainfall amounts just almost 3 inches. So just a little under 3 inches here. So that's a good drink of water for just one day. I'm telling you. Now out there currently, we still have more showers and thunderstorms across central Oklahoma. The heavier activity is now pressing along the Turnpike north of Chandler up into the Tulsa metro area, but we still have some more activity coming into west central Oklahoma. It just kind of keeps developing over the same region. We call this training, by the way, like a choo-choo train. Just means, picture these little bit of cars, right? All going down the same track, one after another. And that can cause the brief flash flooding that we do get in these situations. So that'll be the case here for the remainder of this evening. If we take a look at the rainfall totals, quite substantial. So this graphic here, we're going to put some numbers on here for you. Some of the heavier hit areas, let's see, Bridgeport around 3.5, almost 4 inches of rain out here toward Weatherford. Same thing down here toward Binger, from between Hinton and there. El Reno, you guys are just northwest side of town, had about 3 inches, 2 inches elsewhere. Union City and Minco, you guys had about 1.5 inches. Mustang right around 1 inch. More parts of your area had about 1.5 inches, but if you go on the north side of town, only about 1 inch. So it did vary across the metro. And if you look here on the north side of town, there's south of the Turnpike, just under 2 inches. And once you get up here into Edmond, we're up close to 3 inches of rainfall. And then northeast of Edmond up to north of Arcadia, there's about 3.5. There's about 2.5 in Piedmont, Jones, and Choctaw. You guys have had just about 1 inch, 1.5 inches in your area. If you head up the Turnpike in these little blue areas, again up around 2 to 3 inches. Stroud, you guys up here around 1.5 inches. Shamrock, there's about 2 inches north of you. And once you head up towards Sapulpa, you're about a little over 1.5 inches. Tulsa, same thing. Broken Arrow, Bixby, Coweta does drop off a little bit once you get east of the Tulsa area. So that is a quick look down and dirty of the rainfall amounts here, kind of centered over the central parts of the state, running right up the I-44 corridor. All right, right up to Tulsa, right up the Turnpike. All right, so that's what else we got here go for you. Let's take a look at the readings elsewhere. If you look at the big statewide view, you did get some other rain out in the Panhandle and southeast Oklahoma, but by far and large, the big talk of the day has been right here in the central parts. Okay, temperatures out there, it is chilly. If you saw the little joke meme I posted, the weather went from 90 to 55. Like it saw a state trooper. It was quick, man. I mean, it was brutal with that heat last week. And then Friday night, the cold front hit. Saturday, it was chilly with that big wind. And today was chilly with all the rain. At least we didn't have the winds to deal with it. Winds right now are very light for the most part. You see a gust up to over 10 miles per hour on occasion, but otherwise most of these winds here in the gray area are under 10 miles per hour. So here's a look at the drought. So again, it's still prevalent out here across the western half of Oklahoma. So we desperately need the rain out there, and of course out in the Panhandle. Eastern Oklahoma, you guys are good. I mean, it's even in the drought years, you guys usually end up being okay with that situation. But definitely getting some rain where we need it. Now, here's a look at the satellite viewpoint. One cluster of heavy rain is moving through central and northeastern Oklahoma as we speak, but we do have that secondary band out here to the west, and yep, you guessed it, that's also heading to the north and east with time, and there's more rain down here in Texas. That's heading eastward. So we got a lot of clusters of thunderstorms out there, little complexes rolling around, each of these producing quite a bit of rainfall for the areas that they're hitting, which is great news. Now, tomorrow there is a risk of severe weather. It does include the southern third of Oklahoma on into north and central Texas and western Texas. The tornado threat, a big area of green. This is the lowest category there is. This is a just in case a freak thing happens event. It is not in the cards as far as anything that is expected. Can't be ruled out only because there's a lot of decent shear in the atmosphere, but for that to happen, it would be a freak occurrence. Wind, however, a little bit better probability southern and Oklahoma and North Texas, and then hail, same kind of idea, up to about an inch to inch and a quarter. Most of those hailstones will be, so they won't be too carried away. Here's a close-up view here of Oklahoma for that. Again, not really including Oklahoma City, just in the marginal area. Otherwise, slight risk down from Lawton, Ardmore to Durant. For, again, mainly for a little bit of hail, a little bit of wind. All right, the upper level low pressure system. This is the upper level storm system, the jet stream pattern, coming in across Colorado here right now into tomorrow. This is a little spinning motion you see in the center part of your map. So that's this guy right here. So this is the upper level low, and all this little energy, all these colors out ahead of it is what's providing us with all those showers and thunderstorms. So this little guy here will kind of hang out for about another 36 hours. And if you look here on Wednesday, it starts to drop down here in Oklahoma. So we do have some residual showers. It's going to go a little bit longer than the morning hours, which I had in the blog, because it changed its configuration. But it won't be much, nothing really compared to today or tomorrow. And that'll move on out. And things get quiet for a little while as high pressure builds in. As far as any the cape and the shear, in other words, the best instability parameters where you see the colors on the screen, that's all down south on the Red River. So there's one model, there's another, here's another, here's another, here's another, here's another, here's another. So the take home here is, again, Texas has a better opportunity for seeing severe weather tomorrow than Oklahoma. So this is how things ought to progress here for the remainder of tonight into tomorrow. Now, here's the kicker. Even though the models know it's raining, they don't even know it's raining that much. As a matter of fact, look, it doesn't even know it's still raining out here or here or here. This is the current view, and it only thinks there's rain up in this region. So even the models, even at this particular point in the game, are still not quite 100% with us. So grain of salt on the where it shows some dry weather, because it's going to rain. Here's a look at tonight. Again, big cluster coming in from the west. This is through 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, moving back into the Oklahoma City metro area. So for the few hours we may get a break overnight, it'll fill right back in for your drive time, and the rest of your Tuesday, scattered showers and storms across the entire state all day long. Would you look at this? This is going to be a pretty decent squall line that'll develop here from central to southern Oklahoma on into North Texas. That's where some of those winds could be kicking up, and some a little bit of hailstones with that. And that's through the middle part of the day, and then as the afternoon wears on, it'll move into southeastern Oklahoma. Could still get some residual thunderstorms redevelop here, just a few of them in central Oklahoma. Other models a little bit more robust as far as the new development, but most of them kind of have this configuration, which is the heaviest stuff, definitely moving into the southeastern part of the state for tomorrow, late afternoon and evening. Then here's on Wednesday, as we head into the morning hours, there's that little wraparound, just some really light, weak shower, nuisance activity, nothing heavy, nothing that's going to add to any rainfall bucket totals. It's just going to be enough to kind of keep it wet and damp around here for Wednesday. And then that stuff will, by Thursday morning, with the upper level low finally moving out, will then take that shower activity with it. So because of a little dip in the jet stream, that upper low reforming over Oklahoma on Wednesday, that's going to hose my forecast for Wednesday, which I had improving conditions throughout the day. So that ain't going to happen. All right, so here's a look at the rainfall amounts. If you look at the estimated totals, look at all these colors. So this is good. So this is all 1 to 2 to 3 inches of rain. We see the yellow, that's up around 4. Some orange in here up to around 5, especially down south on the Red River into North Texas. And this is just one model with that. Let me show you what other models look like. Let me refresh this as well. And then we'll get you totals here all the way from Kansas into Texas. Again, focus on these little areas in orange and yellow. Again, those are 4 to 5 inches of rain. Now, that's in addition to what we have out there right now. So if you already have a problem with rain now, you have a bigger problem if you get some of these heavier downpours. So let's see. There's one model there which kind of has it north and south. Here's one here which has it kind of north and south. Here's another one here. Mostly south of the big stuff. It's got some really dark orange in here for 5, 9, 8, 9 inches of rain. Oof, that's some problems. This is actually just west of Tarrant County. That one there's almost a foot of rain, west side of Tarrant County onward. Let's see. This model also kind of favors that zone, but it also likes Oklahoma City getting 7 inches of rainfall. Here's the high resolution version of that, which doesn't. Actually has a ghost egg. It's got 0.7 in here, which isn't going to happen, but it's just wild how sometimes these models try to pick feast or famine. And if you just blend them all together, this is the most conservative approach of it all. And even on the conservative side, it still has 2 to 3 inches of rainfall over a large area here in red, and then there's some pink areas where it's a little bit lower. But hey, I mean, this is great for the drought like we talked about, so some much needed rainfall coming our way. All right, well, here's a look at temperatures for the next couple of days. 60s and 70s. 71 is going to be a stretch. We'll see. Again, today we didn't warm up much at all. We had no sun. I don't expect any sun tomorrow. So actually, I think 60s is a better call for the forecasted high, and about mid-60s at most. Same thing here for Wednesday, mid-60s, and on Thursday, looking like a pretty decent day. Friday also looking good. So we're going to round out the week. Nice. And over the weekend for Memorial Day holiday, looks like, going to get a little toasty. 93 degrees on Sunday. I did have a little weak front coming in here on Monday with the in the blog. The latest data right now is showing that front continues to look even weaker, which means it may not even make it here at all. So we'll see up in the air. It was a very slim shot of any precipitation anyway over that weekend. Historically, though, we do see severe weather in Oklahoma somewhere in the state Memorial Day weekend, just about almost every time. And the models will keep it dry, and all of a sudden they'll just produce storms like the day before, day of. They are terrible for whatever reason. This is a magic weekend for that kind of stuff. So it's always kind of nerve-wracking to go completely dry without any severe weather at all, because typically, again, that does happen. All right, so that is, I went a little longer tonight, but you hadn't seen me in a long time. I want to give you plenty of this, FaceTime. Just kidding. And I want to show off, the Fighting Texas Aggies, of course. But seriously, though, I do want to bring you up to date on the rainfall, about how we've seen so much already, how there will be brief areas of some flash flooding for those that have already gotten a little too much, and you'll get another 2 or 3 inches on top of that. The models will never know the exact spots that's going to get these little bullseyes where it's up to 4 or 5 inches of rain. They won't nail them down. What we do know is that they're in the state, and they're like just kind of pockets all over, right? And that extends down to Texas as well. So that's what I have here for you. All right, so I believe I've said everything I need to say. Let me take a look at a couple of your questions, comments, concerns, life suggestions, all that. By the way, on YouTube, guys, thanks for checking in. I see you guys are always chit-chatting. Jim from Mustang is always here. He's checking with a little over an inch of rain. Is that all you got? Come on, Jim. You can do better than that. You got to have more than an inch at this point. But you're going to get some more, that's for sure. And always Jody is checking in. So Jody's all over. She multitasks. She's on YouTube, and I think she even checks Rumble now. And then, of course, on Facebook. Twitter is kind of a weird deal, guys that watch. Ever since the whole Periscope thing kind of went under, Twitter's in a no man's land. They don't really have made up their mind what they're doing on live broadcasts and conversations. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, if anything. Maybe have to wait till Elon Musk takes over and revamps it. Who knows, if that even happens. But if you really want more of that back and forth chit-chat with more of a community feel, right now, YouTube and Facebook, of course, is your way to do it. And then when Gab TV gets going, we'll see how that works. And then when Rumble, I'm still doing Rumble. We'll see. Rumble's got a group chat thing available as well, so we'll see how that starts to go as we go through time. I spent way more time than I wanted to, but I didn't spend way more money than I wanted to, so that's good. I did upgrade my computer that I use to do all this with. I replaced the motherboard, replaced the CPU, and replaced the memory. And even actually just even replaced a hard drive. So it's almost completely new, just about. And boy, that was headaches. That was so many headaches, and it shouldn't have been, but oh, that was some headaches. From when you're trying to clone hard drives and you're trying to upgrade from an SSD to a NVMe M.2 on the board, and the BIOS doesn't want to see it because there's all these other settings you have to turn on or off, and no one knows until they all have the same problem. You got to go through these rabbit holes of figuring it out, and then once you do that, then Windows doesn't recognize something because the old Windows didn't have it set to even recognize an NVMe drive. If it was an SSD, it drops the ability to recognize other drives, so then you have to then re-enable that. I mean, there was all these things I had to find out, which was so painful. But the good news is I got it all done. And now I'm super fast, everything's good, so I shouldn't have any problems on the broadcasting side. Everything's updated. So some of you guys did actually volunteer a few bucks for that, so I appreciate that. So I was able to get it on the cheap as much as I could, given today's status of price parts on building computers. So there you go. Okay, so let me just scroll through here, look for a few comments. Ashley, Stevens County, went and bought a rain gauge today. I haven't got anything miserable. Don't worry, the rain event's not over. Sandra, yeah, I saw the Aggie softball. Yeah, I saw that. Was, it happens. It's okay. At least, you got to make it to the dance, right? You got to get there. So that's the good deal. So Amber's must be really late to the party because she's asked about severe weather potential for tomorrow. And that was all in the southern third of the state for hail and wind. Crystal says any chance for tornadoes. It's honestly so slim. It's almost not worth mentioning. Almost. The shear is there, so shear's pretty decent, but the temperature will be kind of chilly and don't really have a whole lot of instability, so it'll be a low probability. Not zero, but very low. I mean, almost low as you can get. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Somewhere, we have a freak event somewhere, but that's the way it looks right now. By the way, thanks for shooting the stars here, guys, tonight. Appreciate that. Let's see. Steven, the clock's froze at 55 seconds. I'll go take a look at that. I may have hit a button or something. All right. So I think that was it real quick on Facebook, and then I'll check YouTube here really fast. Sarah, will you go over lightning safety while outside? The streams are popping up with some impressive lightning. Okay. So good question, actually. Great question. Thanks for asking. Let's see. Casey also doing some homework. Are these storms dangerous? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. And then John wants to explain Kate very briefly. Okay, so those are three really good questions. All right, so first off, on storms like this, you want to stay away from windows, obviously. And you want to stay away from, usually the old saying was anything electrical, during electrical storm, right? A lot of lightning. And then a lot of times, even now, if you saw that picture of a toilet that got struck by lightning, if you were sitting on that toilet, it would have not ended well for you. But that was a freak occurrence, right? So the bathtub, shower, toilet, even though they say don't do it, they're all freak occurrences. I mean, even sitting by the window and everything, that's all a freak occurrence. So thunderstorms, as long as you're indoors, 99% of the time, or plus 9.9, you're going to be safe, all right? It's if you're outdoors, all right, so what do you do? Well, unfortunately, there is no safe place for lightning. In the old days, and I don't, honestly, sometimes I wonder where these things come from. Government officials will come up with this idea of a game plan because they got to tell you something, right? And somehow, for some reason, and maybe before research really kicked in, it was just carried on until we finally woke up, so this is really dumb. And it was if you had lightning in your area, if you felt your hair start to stand up on the end, it means you're about to get struck. You're getting a static discharge from a potential difference in positive and negative charges from you and the cloud up above you. And that's what's going to build the pathway to get lightning bite, lightning strike, lightning bolt. Well, we used to say just quickly squat down on your back of your heels and put your ears over your hand over your ears and kind of crunch. In theory, thinking that the lightning would just go over you and hit something else that's taller. I don't know if anyone's ever tested that theory, and I think they probably thought that was kind of dumb. because it gives you this false impression that you're going to be safe, and you're really not. Lightning is typically lazy, but it's not always lazy. Matter of fact, I don't know what the probability is, but I've seen so many strikes hitting the ground when it didn't hit the tree next to it, or a pole, or a house, or this or that, in just an open area of flat terrain. So if you're in that open area of flat terrain, you can get struck just like anything else. So the whole point about lightning is just get indoors. That's it. If you're in a car, it's fine. You can be in a car. Now, if you're in an electric car, an EV, there's not enough research on those yet. I'm just saying. A lot of electrical pathways in that. So I did see one go burst into flames. It was a Prius, I believe. A storm chaser, actually. It was a month ago. And that was interesting. So I'm not really sure what to make of those yet. Verdict is still out. But other than that, any other regular, typical ICE engine type car would do. And again, indoors, any indoor place will do as well. Don't stand together. Don't stand under trees. There is no safe place for lightning. Just so you know that if you're outdoors, it's all a lottery ticket anyway. You don't want to be that type of the lottery ticket, but that's what it is. That's what your odds are. Okay, so let's go to the other question was CAPE. All right. So CAPE is just a measure of instability. So it's called convective available potential energy. Keyword being potential, meaning it's there almost every day of the spring, but unless you tap into it, it doesn't do anything for you. In other words, we could have days where it looks like big time thunderstorms. If the cap breaks, well, that's a day where you've got a lot of CAPE. But if there's no trigger, if no storms happen, all that CAPE is useless, right? It just sat there. How you felt it is when you went outside. It was oppressive, like it was really humid, like it was thick, right? And just like and you can all of a sudden you start to sweat and you just showered, right? That's how you can really feel the CAPE to what you would reference it as. Let's see. Anyway, so the higher the CAPE values, the more instability. Meaning that the bigger the thunderstorms can be, stronger they can be, the more severe they can be. So, and also kind of helps with tornadoes. Now there is a relationship with CAPE and shear when it comes to those as well. So you have to factor it in. It's an equation, so you factor in the shear with the CAPE to see how strong or how severe those storms will be, and or if they will rotate enough to produce a tornado and all that kind of stuff. So we look at all those little indices and we pass that information along. But good questions on the lightning and the CAPE, and if you'd be safe studying. So we knocked those 3 out there on YouTube. So thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Thanks for being interactive and asking some questions. And I don't always have time to answer them, but sometimes I do. Okay, let's see. By the way, thanks for the stars tonight. I saw many of you do that on Facebook. So Brooke, I just saw you. Carol also for the stars tonight. Ron, Christopher. Appreciate you guys' support. Matt. And Dion. All right. I had to pause for a minute to read your name. Dion. I hope I said that right. Wilson Cornelius. That is one name. That is an interesting good name. All right. I like it. Okay. Let's see. So Ann's like, what about Mears, Oklahoma? So really, remember, the whole state is getting rain over the next 24 hours on the heavy side. All right. So that takes us through Tuesday night. Then after that, it's just really light, piddly stuff for the day on Wednesday. So you will get more rain. If you haven't had enough yet, don't worry. There's plenty to come. Widespread, 2 inches in most areas. And then some people are going to get up 4 or 5, little hot spots, kind of like we had today. And that's where you're going to have the brief flash flooding. Let's see here. I believe that was going to be it for me. Okay. So I've answered some of your questions. I think I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for tonight. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Make sure you stay safe. Remember, flash flooding, believe it or not, kills more people than all the other weather threats combined. And you're thinking, really? I'm like, yeah. It's not a sexy thing. It doesn't get a bunch of fanfare. It's low, right? It just kind of sneaks up on you. And it's usually not until it's ongoing that it gets all the immediate attention, right? So all of a sudden you got wall-to-wall coverage because some part of the city's got 4 or 5 or 6 inches of rain, and now we've got cars stalled in intersections, and you've got water creeping up to houses. So, but it's such a slow process to get to that point. There's not a lot of build-up for that, so you don't really see it coming, And no one is going to sit here, including me, with a rain gauge and just watch it like this. Okay, we're at a ½ inch. All right, 20 minutes later, we're at 3/4 of an inch. An hour later, we're now at an inch. You know, no one's going to do that. Oh my gosh, that's it is not going to happen. So, all the concern and stuff doesn't really kick in until you've already had 3 inches, right? And maybe now 4, because now you're starting to get into the period where creeks can get overflown, overflooded, and ponds and little rivers and that kind of deal, and low-lying areas. So then that's when all that stuff cranks in. And then if the event's a long event like this one, it's a 2-dayer, now on the second day you're more heightened and aware than you were the first day, because now a lot of people may be dealing with flooding versus maybe just a couple of people. So that's kind of how that progression starts. I do know historically that typically when the models forecast 2 days of really widespread heavy rain, the second day is usually not as bad as what they thought it was going to be. And that's usually because there's a lot of processes that happen in the atmosphere, and I think it robs a lot of the energy that's needed. You have to have subsidence at some point, in other words, some sinking air, so you get more dry spots. There's always going to be something that goes and messes that up. So I've known it historically, just from doing this for so long, that typically you don't get as much, rain the second day as what the models thought there would be. So that might help, in some cases when it comes to flooding. But you're still going to get decent rain regardless, just like we did today. All right, so that's it for me, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support as always, and we'll do this again soon. Meanwhile, have a good night tonight. Stay safe. Talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.